The Chicago Cubs get drenched in Florida against the Tampa Bay Rays, while Garrett Crochet sets a personal mark against the Seattle Mariners for the Chicago White Sox. Can the NBA Finals and the Stanley Cup be over by this weekend on Father's Day? And we'll salute the great Jerry West, and we'll have the great Christine, the Queen Manika, joining us as well on our usual Friday Fun edition. All that and so much more as the Second City Sports Friday Fun Extravaganza starts right now. Welcome to another fun-filled Friday edition of Second City Sports. We're live in living color right here on Sports Soul Chicago, along with Mr. Keena McGee, which is she. I am Cindy Brownhead. That's me. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at CK80. Once again, it's CK80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You follow my Keena McGee on the Twitter, X, and the IG.
Be sure to download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Please follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms: Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, and YouTube. Please subscribe to our podcast. We are located at War Media Podcast. That's WARR Media, PODCASTS. We are on all podcast platforms, including that iHeartRadio app. And while you're ready, please give War Media a follow at WARR Media on all social media platforms. That's Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, and YouTube at WARR Media. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
We are unapologetically fun, and we have very definite opinions. If you have any definite opinion in the wide world of sports during our 2-hour extravaganza, we call a Sports Talk Radio Show. You can always hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments to the comment section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you. But if you decide to troll and or do something silly, dumb, or stupid, I've given Lakina full powers to give you full stability and be about
Toodles.
But before we begin, we must remind you can catch Sports Zone Chicago live in the living color, and especially right now on Roku TV. That's right. So celebrate with the squad and get with the program. Sports Zone Chicago is now available on Roku TV. If you already have a Roku television, just tap on that sports folder and download that Sports Zone Chicago app. If you don't have a Roku television, but you have some handheld devices laying around, iPhone, iPad, iTouch, your Chromebook, or your PC or your Android, just head up to Google Play Store, download that Roku TV app, and access Sports Zone Chicago through that avenue. So no more excuses. Celebrate the squad and get with the program. Sports Zone Chicago is now available on Roku TV. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Live and on demand.
Anytime, anywhere.
And you know we will provide.
And we'll be providing you with some of the best here on Second City Sports. Of course, we'll have a new friend joining the show. He is from the Lakers Nation podcast, Mr. Trevor Lane. We'll talk, of course, we'll talk about the Lakers coaching search. We'll remember the late, great legend Jerry West. And will the Celtics end it tonight? We'll talk to him about that. Of course, our girl Christine Mack from KXRB joins us for her usual Friday visit to talk U.S. Open, which is going on right now in Pinehurst. Tom Brady, of course, he got his Patriots Hall of Fame blazer. Of course, he's got a few more years before he'll get his gold jacket coming up. But and so much more. But first, Sid, MLB, the Cubs. Okay. Need I remind folks that this is supposed to be the softer part of the Cubs schedule. Unfortunately, they lose 2 out of 3 to the Rays. The bullpen, I know some people say, well, they left one of the scoring positions. I think they left the total of 20 runners in that whole series. But even still, your bullpen is supposed to help you out, keep leads. Hector Neris, Mark Leiter Jr. had his worst showing in a couple of months last night. This is the kind of thing where you can give teams, your fans, ulcers. This is or in my case, anxiety. So I don't know what's going on. It's like that's supposed to be the soft part of their schedule, but They host St. Louis starting today in a little bit, in about an hour from now. But I don't want to give up on this Cubs team. Of course, there's a lot of finger pointing. Fans are going crazy. Sid, what do you think?
Well, let me start out with the starting pitching. Justin Steele gave you another great start last night. And prior to his start last night against the Rays, in his last four starts, he has an ERA of 0.72. Let me repeat that one more again, as the kids would say. Pardon my broken English. In his last four starts, Justin Steele has an ERA of 0.72, which means he's shutting hitters down. But also, that means that the Cubs are supposed to score some runs for him and all your other starting pitchers as well, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Check this out. In their last 34 games, I'm talking about the Chicago Cubs, they are 12 and 22, and they have averaged 3.6 runs per game. That's the worst in Major League Baseball in that time span since May the 9th. And we talked about this Cubs offense, Lakina. I've been defending this offense all year. When healthy, they're the top 3, 4 offensive teams in the National League. Obviously, they haven't been playing like it over the last month, and those stats I just read to you indicate that they haven't lived up to their part. Now, last night we talked about it before we went on live. Young Gomes laid down the butt and Nico Horner scored to give the Cubs a brief 2-0 lead. And as I said over these last few shows, for any offense struggling, you got to play small ball. You got to play Ozzy ball, create some scoring opportunities. The Cubs did that last night, but once again, that bullpen failed to do their part. Tampa Bay scored all 3 of their runs in the 7th inning to win that game and to win this series. Lakina, like you said, it's not panic time. No, but you don't have a whole lot of time either. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, the Cubs have time. You guys said that Milwaukee's not going to run away with this thing, which I still believe, by the way. But the time for urgency is now. And right now, we're not seeing it on a consistent basis with the Cubs. And
This
just what the
Go ahead.
Cubs defensively, that it was supposed to be their strength this year, they've been terrible this year. 2 more costly errors last night.
Yeah, and that's not good. And that led to that 3-run spot of the 7th inning. Of course, the Rays would hang on to win. It was a second season sports on Sports on Chicago. Lakina McGee, Steve Brown with you. And it's one of those things where I know Dan Swanson, I know he's got some flat from people saying that, well, it's only June, but you can't lose the division in June, but you can also, be you can you fall right behind, because not only you got to worry about the Brewers, but now you got the Cardinals, who you'll be playing starting today, to worry about. And also you got the Reds, who you've had trouble with this year, and Pittsburgh is right there as well. So like I said before, no, like we've been saying for like the last couple of months, I don't think the Brewers are going to run away with the division, but I think if you're the Cubs, you need to kind of get it going. You need to try to figure things out. Get Carl Edwards Jr., call him up. See, maybe because you need a closer. He actually has been okay down there in AAA, so I don't know what Jed's problem is. He doesn't want to bring him up, but I digress. He has one of the lowest lowest ERAs in AAA, and has not given up. I think like one run is like 7 or 8 starts there at AAA. So I don't know what's going on. Yeah, I don't know what's going on in that front, but I don't know why they don't want to call him up, but whatever. But it's one of those days where you just don't know what to expect. You thought that Wednesday's game, you thought, okay, maybe they figured things out. Maybe the Cubs have, but then they go back to the bad habits with the bad fielding and the bullpen giving up runs. I mean, it's one of those days where you just don't know what you're gonna get with this team.
I think Carter Hawkins may be calling you, so we may be expecting that. So I'll let you answer that phone. But as far as the Cubs right now, looking at, we talk about the bullpen, we talk about the lack of run support with their starting pitching. I've been listening to various pundits and other folks that cover this team, and most of them will say that this Cubs team needs a big bat, and somehow, some way that this Cubs bullpen will be respectable. Maybe that will be the case, but it doesn't hurt to get another arm, another bat. Okay, it depends on who that is, whether it's Vladimir Guerrero Jr., which I think is a realistic possibility. I know some people are throwing Luis Roberts Jr.'s name in there. I don't think that's possible. That's just me. But Lakina, I get it. The name of the game is to score runs, but you got to shut down your opponents as well. Now, do I think that Jed Hoyer and Carter Hargrove is going to get both between now and July 31st? I don't think so. I think it's going to be one or the other. And if you were sending Carter Hawkins to see which is the more priority right now, get another big bat in there or get another bullpen arm?
Either the bullpen arm, and I think I know Vlad Jr.'s name's been thrown around. I know Luis Robert Jr., which especially for the price of the Sox want, that's not going to happen. I know Pete Alonso, some people say about that, but you may only get him for like a 2-3 month rental. So you're going to give up your best prospect for a 2-3 month rental. I don't think Coste's not going to want to do that, especially if you don't end up making the playoffs. So I think the bullpen arm, that's what you need. Yeah, but you need to learn how to win those 2-1 games, 3-2 games, 1-0 games. That's more important. Yes, scoring is good, but what wins championships? Look, the last couple of the World Series, the Rangers won last year. Yeah, they got the great bats, and Corey Seager had a great year, deserved World Series MVP. But it was really the bullpen arms, especially, that kind of won it for him. So I think if you're the Cubs, you want to try to get that middle relief guy, especially if you're not going to call up Carl Edwards Jr.
And also, too, dealing with that Cubs bullpen, I know Taylor McGregor, the Cubs field reporter from Marquee Sports Network, tweeted out just a couple of hours ago that Ben Brown, who's been flipped between the fifth starter and coming out of the bullpen, he has a neck injury, so he's going to be out indefinitely. So you stated your case perfectly about the Cubs need another bullpen arm. Now, health is starting to become a question with this Cubs team, especially in their bullpen. We talk about Hayden Wesneski, who's been great coming out of that bullpen. Drew Smiley quietly has been doing well in his last few outings coming out of that bullpen. So, as we said before, we'll say it again. Consistency is the name of the game for the Chicago Cubs, and they've definitely been consistently inconsistent, especially on offense.
And then, like I said, it'll be interesting to see what Jed Hoyer and Carter Hawkins do, because I think they need to make a move. Like I said, I don't think they'll make a move really quick, but if things don't kind of get to the point where you're like, maybe by the end of this month, they're still like within 5 or 6 games, and they're like, okay, fine. But if they get a little further back, you may have to start panicking. So you hope that maybe this Cubs team can be consistent and turn things around real quick, because time is starting to coming of the essence.
You're listening to Second City Sports on Chicago, the Friday Fun edition. Sid and Lakina here with you, talking Cubs baseball. Lakina, one more question for you before we close out for the bottom of the hour break. Who should be the Cubs leadoff hitter? I know it's been Mike Taubman these last couple of games. I know Nico Holden has had his turn at it. Ian Happ, who I think personally, call me crazy, and I think I said this on a couple of episodes ago, it should be Pete Crow Armstrong, but who do you think, in your opinion, should be the Cubs leadoff hitter right now?
You need somebody to get on base. So I would say PCA. I know Ian Hampson been done a good job of being a good leadoff. He's done pretty well. He did pretty well in the Rays series. Nico Hoerner, once he comes back, hopefully get him consistency. So I think any one of those three, because you need someone that's going to get on base and put you in the position to score. Excuse me. So you really need to kind of any one of those three, I think, would work.
Like I said, I think it will be Pete Crow Armstrong in the long run. We'll see if the Cubs decide to go in that direction. As we said before, the Chicago Cubs started a 9-game homestand, first with the Father's Day weekend series against the St. Louis Cardinals. Of course, this is one of the oldest rivalries in baseball. The Cardinals will tell you what they did after this break against Pittsburgh, but the Cubs and the Cardinals always do battle with each other. They always come down to key moments. And Lakina, you have Shota and Manika going tomorrow, and yours truly will be there, and I'll discuss more about that later. But call me crazy, I'm still going to put pressure on this team. You're back home now. You should take at least 2 out of 3.
I agree. The Cardinals have been kind of like a slightly less talented version of the Cubs lately. They thought that maybe they can kind of get it going, but they didn't have a good weekend against the Pirates. So we'll see what happens. But it's always a fun series when those two teams play. So it'll be even special since it's Father's Day.
Gary Crochet sets a personal mark as the White Sox avoid the sweep in Seattle. An opposing player gets a standing ovation on the road. That and the rest and the worst of Major League Baseball from this past week. As you're listening to Second City Sports, the Friday Fun edition, I'm Sid. That's Lakina. This is Sports Zone Chicago.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying. new sneakers are just what I need for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class.
These colored pencils, too. These new socks? They can be a real lifesaver.
And I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you. Your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov, a public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and I listen to Sean and Maya in the morning.
Here's Andrew Vaughn. Well hit. Andrew Vaughn to center field at the wall, and it is out of here. Andrew Vaughn, with his 8th home run of the season, puts the White Sox on the board. A 1-0 lead here in the third.
And now here is Luis Robert Jr.
Robert Jr. puts a charge in this one, going to center. Adios! La Pantera goes back to back. And the White Sox take a 2-0 lead in the third. He's swinging. Chopper to third. The play comes to first as the run will score.
And those highlights are courtesy from NBC Sports Chicago. Well, back to Tennessee Sports. On Sports of Chicago, Keenan McGee, Steve Brown with you. The Sox were able to salvage a series in Seattle against the Mariners last night. Of course, Garrett Crochet had his best outing in his career, 13 strikeouts. He also threw some pitches that were just like 95.6 miles per hour. That weren't just fastballs. That's actually the highest average pitch velocity by any MLB left-hander in the last 20 years. So a nice, really good showing, kind of making a name for himself as perhaps maybe a piece that Chris Getz trades before the trade deadline. We'll see. But yeah, I mean, look, look. Stayed to watch some of those those games were they were highly entertained. Of course, Robert Jr. on Wednesday tied the game, but Seattle was able to come back and win that game. They almost won it last night. And you probably said at worst the Sox should have at least split the series, but I guess like Crochet is probably one of the few bright spots for the Sox squad. Sid, what'd you say?
Yeah, it's him first and then Luis Robert Jr. second ever since he returned from his injury a few weeks ago. Garrett Crochet last night was phenomenal, setting a career high, a personal high in strikeouts with 13. And I don't know if you caught MLB Central this morning, like on MLB Network. I have part of it on my Twitter feed at SidKid80. Mark DeRosa, who's one of the hosts there and former MLB player and former Cub at one time, he broke it down perfectly last night. Garrett Crochet was getting Seattle batters out with only two pitches. That was the cutter and the fastball. His placement, especially with that fastball, was just perfect. I don't know if you paid attention to what Crochet did against your guy Julio Rodriguez. I know he tied the game in the ninth inning off of Michael Kopech, but Garrett Crochet dominated Julio Rodriguez last night. And a few of the Seattle Mariners hitters were talking to themselves after going into the dugout and being struck out by Mr. Crochet. I know Crochet had a couple of walks, but he got into a couple of jams early in the game, but he got out of them. He was consistent. His placement on that fastball, especially on the outside part of the plate against the right-handed batters, it was phenomenal last night. So the problem with the Sox, as we talked about with the Cubs in our last segment, when you get great starting pitching, the lack of run support is unfortunately is there, and they had to pitch almost a perfect game just to keep the teams in it. And sometimes, at some point, the pitcher those types of pitchers start to wear down, so they got to get help. Last night, the Sox barely got help, and they won that game in extra innings. But for Crochet, in his first 7 starts, his ERA was near 8. In his last 6 starts, his ERA is 1.13, and he's only given up 3 home runs. In his previous 8 starts, he's given up 7 home runs. In his last 6 starts, he's given up a total of 3 home runs. So he's definitely has made an improvement over the last month or so.
We'll see if he can keep it up because we know it ebbs and flows when it comes to pitching, especially on a bad team.
Mm-hmm.
Now, are you one of those Sox fans that want to just let the Sox stink up the rest of the season? Just let them lose 120 games and let Jerry Reinsdorf work. Because I heard like there were I've heard like various pundits saying that put that question. Oh, it's a Sox fan. Says you're one of the people I know that's a Sox fan. Christine, we'll ask her when she comes on a little bit. But what say you about this?
I get it where some fans are coming from with that. It will prompt Mr. Reinsdorf to make some changes that normally he would not make after a disappointing season. But remember, folks, they do not get a number 1 draft pick. So I think the highest they pick this year is 10th for for the draft coming up next year. So losing 120 games is not going to do it in terms of a number 1 pick because the rules have changed. But with this if they lose more than 100 games, will this prompt Jerry Reinsdorf to make more dramatic changes? Only time would tell. But I'm not going to say I accept this year for what it is. I guess we have no choice but to. But as a fan, of course, you want your team to win every game possible. But as a talking head, just looking at this in a logical sense, how many games is it going to lose, whether it's 90, 100, 110? Pedro Grifol must leave immediately. I think that's going to happen at the end of the year. Chris Guest and Josh Barfield, his right-hand man, I know you had to still work on that minor league system, even though it's in a little bit of a better place than it was a few years ago. But you got to get comparable major leaguers in here that's going to set the program straight.
Listen, Second City Sports on Chicago, Keenan McGee, Cindy Brown with you talking some MLB. Let's talk about the rest of the MLB this week. Sid, as for me, I guess of course the Yankees are still, even though they did lose the back match of that series in Kansas City against the Royals, but they did win 3 out of 4, so I think they're kind of setting the table there. And you saw Aaron Judge hit that that monster home run on Wednesday. Then Giancarlo Stanley, he's starting to heat up. Trevino's starting to heat up as well, and Verdugo too. They all hit home runs in that game on Tuesday as well. So I think for me, look, it's not all on Mr. Judge, and the pitching's been pretty solid too.
Yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth about the starting pitcher for the Yankees. You talk about Nestor Cortez. I know he got the bad end of the stick yesterday. I actually got a chance to watch some of that game live. Even though the Yankees were behind, he was pitching well. We talked about his struggles the last couple of years, ever since his breakout rookie year in 2022. He's finally turned the corner. Same thing with Carlos Rodon. He's turned the corner as well. And so he's starting to find some consistency in him. Hopefully, Garrett Cole, they'll get him back at some point this year. And don't forget about Poteet. We talked about him on our last episode on Monday. He pitched that gem against Yoshinobu Yamamoto in that opener in that Dodgers-Yankees series last Friday night, which was scoreless through 9 innings. So he's starting to come on. Don't forget about Luis Gil, the rookie starting pitcher for the Yankees. He's been on the tear this year. He could be an AL starting pitcher in the All-Star game next month. So the Yankees starting pitching is coming around, is finally stabilizing that offense. And so the Yankees are going to have the best record in baseball right now. So the Baltimore Orioles, I know we're going to talk about them in a second, but they're going to have a tough task overtaking the Yankees. Do Baltimore have the talent to overtake them? I think they do, but they got to stay hot, because I don't see the Yankees slowing down anytime soon.
I agree. And speaking of Baltimore, they win two out of three against Atlanta. I know they lost a tough one last night, but it's still pretty solid if you're the Orioles. I mean, Gunnar Henderson in that first game of that series, his ninth career leadoff home run tonight. That's the most lead off before turning 23. That since Roy Acuna Jr. Did it when he was 19. Well, he had 19 home runs. Gunnar Henderson, has 9, tied with Fernando Tatis Jr., who did it a couple of years ago. So the consistency of Baltimore, like, their problem is just that the Yankees are actually playing so good. It's really nothing that they're not doing. It's just that the Yankees are on a roll.
Yeah, Baltimore, as we talked about, they're one of those young teams in the Major League Baseball. They have a good mix of young talent and veterans. We talked about Anthony Santander, their right field. He's one of those unsung heroes at the plate and on the field. We know about the names in their lineup. Their starting pitching starting to come around. They got, I believe, their top 3 starters going this weekend against the Philadelphia Phillies. We'll get to that in a little bit. But also, too, you have Craig Kimbrell, who's their closer. Now, can Baltimore upgrade at that position at the trade deadline to boost their bullpen? I think they can. Will they? That remains to be seen. But like you said, they're not really doing anything wrong. It's just like the Yankees are, I'm not going to say far out ahead of everybody else, but they're not that far ahead of Baltimore. But it's just like the Yankees have been playing so well. They had a great start to the season. So as long as Baltimore can stay consistent, stay within striking distance of the Yankees in the AL East, I think they'll be okay.
That's the key here. Staying within striking distance. Now going to the Central, the Guardians had a solid week this week. They win 2 out of 3 against the Marlins. They split their series with Cincinnati. Now they face the Blue Jays in Toronto, I should say, tonight. It's really been their bullpen that's been very solid for the Guardians. Sid, they are only allowing less than 2.200 batting average this season. The last MLB team to have their relief pitchers come to hold their opponents in the season below a .200 average was going back to 1968 in the Detroit Tigers. So their bullpen has really been kind of keeping things going for the Guardians, and it looks like they're not running away from the division just yet, but they're starting to.
They should, especially the way Minnesota's playing. We'll get to them in just a moment. But Emmanuel Clase, he's still one of the top 5, top 10 closest in baseball, so he has the backing of their bullpen. And I said it 1,000 times, I'll say it 1,001 for this episode. Jose Ramirez, who should be your starting third baseman at the All-Star game for the American League next month, he's still, in my opinion, a top 3 AL MVP candidate next to Aaron Judge and Juan Soto for the Yankees.
Yeah, definitely. We'll see. Now Kansas City, of course, we talked about them. They lose 3 out of 4 to the Yankees. Now it's the World actually had a combined no going to the 7th. So they lose the lead, but then they still end up winning it. So that's when they really need it, because they were going to get swept across the board if they didn't.
Yeah, as I talked about before, the Kansas City Royals are starting to play real teams on their schedule. Like you said, the first three games, they got outclassed by a better team than the Yankees. And like you said, yesterday they caught a couple of bad breaks by the Yankees. They took advantage of them, and they won in the last at bat. I think for if you're a Kansas City fan going forward, who's going to step up offensively outside of Bobby Witt Jr. and
Mhm.
Salvador Perez, who's still playing. Like, I think he is just as old as us. So,
Mhm.
uh, he's been there for a long time, and will they starting pitching start to break down? It scared them at various points in the early part of the season. And now, can they keep up, or will they break down at some point?
That'd be interesting. So we continue with the Royals now. Staying with, speaking of Minnesota, they went 2 out of 3 against the Rockies. They won their opener against the A's last night, and it's really been the scoring. I mean, they beat the Rockies in the last game of that series in the rubber match, 17-9. So it's really, led by Carlos Correa. It's going to be interesting to see kind of how. Well, it was very emotional because they had it was Prince's birthday. The late great Prince, and of course, you could tell there was a lot of emotion there. So, Korea was rocking out to some. They played Prince songs all game long, and they were able to kind of win that. Now, can they keep up? They're 7.5 back of Cleveland as we're recording this. So, can they make that move?
I think they can, but it's going to come down to their starting pitching. I'll get to their starting pitches just a minute. But you spoke of Carlos Correa. In his last 8 games, he has a 5.45 batting average with 2 home runs and 9 RBIs. So the Minnesota offensively is led by him, and don't forget by Byron Buxton as well. He hustled out on a ball last night. That was on a 50-50 bang bang play at first base. So he's gonna bring it every night. But you mentioned that first game against Oakland last night. The Twins, I talked about this starting pitching. I'm kind of iffy on that. It's been above average at best this year, but Joe Ryan pitched 7 innings last night, walking 1, giving up 3 hits and striking out 5. I thought that was a good performance from him. Minnesota has a decent bullpen on the back end. That was their Achilles heel a couple of years ago. So Joe Ryan did his thing last night for the Twins. I just wanted to see if their starting pitching can continue. I know they got Carlos Santana also to helping out with the offense, but I want to see some consistency with their starting pitching. I think that's going to be the Achilles heel if they don't win this division.
Gonna be interesting there now. Cool. To the West, we talked about the Mariners. Let's talk about the defending champs, the Rangers. They won 2 out of 3 against the Dodgers. I wonder if Dodgers fans want Dave Roberts' job again. Now, but the real story here was Dave Robertson, the reliever for the Rangers. He struck out the core. He struck out Betts, Shohei, and Freeman. And I think he struck out Betts and Shohei, I think, twice during that series. So they were able to kind of shut the door in some cases. Of course, Corey Seager hit a 3-run home run on Wednesday to break that game open there against his former team. So are the Rangers starting to kind of turn the corner?
You can make that case after getting blown out on Tuesday, 15-2, whatever that score was. But as we talked about Lakina, we talked about the Rangers offense. You know the names by now. Their starting pitching has been disappointing this year. Part of it is due to injuries. Their bullpen has been shaky as well. But you mentioned Dave Robertson. He pitched for both Chicago teams back then. So I feel like he's been pitching for everybody, but that's another issue. But like I said, the Rangers bullpen was the key to their success in this series against the Dodgers the last 2 nights. Are they turning the corner? I know Max Scherzer is about to make another rehab start. I know that Jacob deGrom, who was out last year due to Tommy John, has his World Series ring. He's about to make a rehab start. So health is on the way for Texas, but you would think they can catch momentum, and the time is now. We'll see if they can keep it up this weekend.
Houston lose 2 out of 3 to the Giants, and you wonder, you thought that maybe Houston kind of keep up with the Rangers and the Mariners, but it looks like that's not the case, at least right now.
Yeah, I saw that. I don't know if you saw that opening game the other night. Houston had their chance in extra innings, but they gave the game away to the San Francisco Giants. And we talked about Jose Abreu trying to get it going. He hasn't gotten it going yet. Kyle Tucker. He's still trying. But he's been up and down. Jose Altuve, he's still trying, but it's not enough. As Lakina has the sound effects there, so and we all know about the injuries to their top two stars that are out this year for Tommy John surgery. So Houston, they got to get back in it with the offense. They got to find some other starting pitching to complement Justin Verlander.
Yeah, we'll see if they can figure it out as the second state sports. Sports in Chicago, Lakina McGee, Cindy Brown with you, talking some MLB, going to the National League. The Phillies, a little bit of a bump. They lose 2 out of 3 to the Red Sox, and I know I'm sure Philly fans are not like losing their minds about it because they were such a tear lately. A little bit of bump with the road for them, but look, I mean, the way their pitching has been, the way their pitching has been good. Nola, Suarez, Wheeler. I mean, they have under a sub-1 WHIP, which is like their sub-3 ERA and 200 batting average. So it's really the back end of the rotation has really become a problem. When you saw that in that Boston series.
Yeah, speaking of Aaron Nola, I thought he got squeezed on a couple of calls last night, which led to Boston blowing the Phillies out in that game last night at Fenway to take that series. But you mentioned the Philadelphia Phillies starting pitching, at least the top 3, top 4 guys have been on fire. I know that Aaron Nola will not pitch this weekend against Baltimore, obviously, because he started last night in that series finale of Boston. But you talk about Suarez, he's been very good there, left-hander. Zach Wheeler is going to take the bump on Sunday to close out the series against Baltimore. So those two have really carried the front end of their rotation for the Phillies. Their bullpen is also good. Kyle Schwarber was big in this series against Boston as well. So I'm really looking forward to the series this weekend against Baltimore. To be honest with you, Lakina. Is it a World Series preview? It can be, but we'll see what happens between now and October. We still have a long way to go.
Yeah, it's still a ways to go. So we'll see. Now Atlanta, they lose 2 out of 3 to Baltimore. They're 9 back of the Phillies as we're recording this. So can they get it right?
Reynaldo Lopez, former White Sox pitcher, he had a game yesterday. He was the one that stopped that 5-game losing streak for Atlanta. And as we talked about before with the injuries to Spencer Strider, he's out for the year. We're talking about Ronald Acuna Jr., who's out for the year. Atlanta has to come correct and come creative in terms of creating offense and scoring. Lakina, I want to ask you this question real quick. Watching MLB Central this morning, Joel Sherman, a veteran baseball writer, was on the program. And I think Robert Flores asked him, if you were sitting in that Braves seat, I'm just paraphrasing here, which would be most important for the Braves at the trade deadline? Get an outfielder or get another starting pitcher? I'll ask you before Joel Sherman. I'll ask you this question before I'll give you Joel Sherman's answer.
I think it's pitching. I think they really need it. They still got a lot of depth. I mean, I know the outfield's been a little bit iffy with Acuna Jr. gone for the year, but I think really the pitching is really good because you got to keep up with the Phillies. If not, the Phillies are going to run away with that division and hide.
Sherman said the same thing pitching.
Yeah, so we'll see if they get the Brass and the Braves can try to figure it out. Now going to the Central, the Brewers. Remember what I said? The Brewers are not going to run away with this division, and I'm being proven right, at least for right now. They lose 2 out of 3 to Toronto.
Yeah, Toronto DFA Kevon Biggio. Now he's a member of the Los Angeles Dodgers. I know there's been trade rumors about Vladimir Guerrero Jr., maybe Bo Bichette. We'll see what happens with that. We talked about the Toronto's lineup, but it's really their starting pitching, which have been our concern. It was nice for them to win in series, but they got to start winning series too, because we talk about Baltimore, we talk about the Yankees. Boston's around a 500 team. If you're Toronto, if you don't want to see anybody go, you got to start winning series now, because if they don't, they're definitely going to be a seller at the July 31st trade deadline.
Yeah, and they've already, like I said, they already got rid of Biggio. So I know Toronto fans were expecting a lot, and unfortunately, we'll get to that stuff, but we can get to at a later date. But I think a lot of it is the Toronto brass is not making good decisions. So but again, that's a different story for a different time. The Cardinals, the Cubs' next opponent, they win 2 out of 3 against the Pirates. So they're kind of, like I said, they're kind of like a slightly they're kind of like the same level as the Cubs. They're inconsistent with their pitching and their hitting. So I know Goldschmidt had a nice series. Help lead the Cardinals to get in the rubber match on Wednesday. But yeah, I mean, I'm not buying what the Cardinals are selling. So we'll see. I mean, it's going to be interesting in that NL Central.
Let me ask you a question real quick from this series. I did watch that start on Tuesday by rookie pitcher Paul Skeens from Pittsburgh. He had 8 strikeouts through 6 innings. And the Cardinals fans, this game was in St. Louis, and Cardinals fans are the best knowledgeable fans perhaps in all of baseball. They gave Paul Skeens a standing ovation. Some people had a problem with it. I didn't personally because I have no really interest on either side. Did you have a problem with the Cardinals fans giving Paul Skeens a standing ovation?
Well, no, I mean, look, like you said, I mean, the Cardinals fans are some of the most knowledgeable fans in all of baseball. So they know greatness when they see it. Like I said, I hope his arm doesn't fall off. That's only my concern with him about in this juncture. But yeah, I mean, I had no problem. I know people say, well, this are rivals. No, I mean, guys, it's called showing respect and come on, guys, let's have a little bit of that in rivalries.
All right, and real quick, Lakina, the Arizona Diamondbacks say they take care of the Angels. Christian Walker had 2 home runs last night. He had 3 home runs in the series and 5 RBI for the month. He has 4 home runs and 12 RBI for the Diamondbacks. Are the Diamondbacks back, or are you in wait and see mode?
I'm waiting to see mode with the D-bats. I mean, they're going to be facing the Sox this weekend, so we'll see. I mean, look, we'll see if they can kind of get it going here. I mean, look, if you want to cure what ails you, play the White Sox. So,
yeah,
I do want to give a quick shout out to Jackson Morrell, real quick, from the Padres on Wednesday. He hit 2 home runs. One of it was the game winner, a walk-off home run. He's actually the youngest player in MLB history to record such a game. So, want to give him a shout out. The Padres, we'll see. I mean, look, the Padres are getting one of those inconsistent teams. They're great against the Dodgers, but everyone else, they've been kind of they're 6 back. So we'll see if they can kind of get it going here. Now going to the schedule real quick. This is for this weekend's games. Of course, St. Louis and the Cubs are about to start right now in about 20 minutes. The Yankees and the Red Sox, always just when those 2 teams play each other. The Marlins and the Nationals. A World Series preview, perhaps, like Sid said, Philadelphia and Baltimore. We'll see there. Cleveland and Toronto, and San Diego against the Mets. The Mets are suddenly gotten hot now. They've won 8 of their last 12.
Yes, and the other series that are going on this weekend, Tampa Bay will visit Atlanta to take on the Braves. Cincinnati and Milwaukee will do battle 90 minutes north of us at the stadium formerly known as Miller Park. The Tigers will take on the Astros. Oakland will continue their 4-game series in the Twin Cities. The Pirates will take on the Rockies. Kansas City will visit Los Angeles to take on the Dodgers. The Texas Rangers will visit Lakina Seattle Mariners. That's the second game in the Apple TV doubleheader tonight. In the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim will take on the San Francisco Giants. That's the other game that's running on Apple TV Plus for tonight.
And national games, you got FS1, you got the second game, the Cardinals Cubs series at 1:20. Fox with their double header. You've got Yankees in Boston. I'm sure most people will get that game. And those of you in Texas and out west will get the Rangers and the Mariners. That should be a fun series. And of course, also Cardinals and Cubs will get the Roku treatment on Sunday at noon. So after you watch the replay of our show, you can catch the game, the Cardinals Cubs game on Roku. And Yankees and Red Sox, Sunday night game of the week. I have no clue why, but okay, I digress.
What a shock.
And that is your schedule for this weekend in MLB.
Stay tuned for more sports and more fun. The Second City Sports of Friday Fun Edition continues with Trevor Lane from Lakers Nation Podcast and Miss Christine the Queen Manika. You're listening to Sports Zone Chicago.
No, I don't know though. I'm scared. I mean, you're so...
Do you know that you're in my lane?
No, not at all. Are you not paying attention? Are you texting? I was just checking in with my mom. I was telling her that I thought we'd be home by 6. It's okay. There's enough time. Just pay attention. I'm not even halfway through my text. There's no way. I'm not even going to look up. My babies are in the car. You have to pay attention. It's just supposed to be a quick text. I'm so sorry.
Hi, I'm Tom Brady, the director of DODEA. September is National Suicide Prevention and Awareness Month. The simple act of reaching out and caring for those in our communities is something we all can do. Just being there for someone you care about can be a tremendous first step in getting them access to confidential resources and support that they need. It only takes one person and one small act and 1 minute to make a difference. Let's make a difference.
Many will hear the calling. Few will earn the title. United States Marine. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Welcome back to Second City Sports as we kick off hour number 2 of this fun Friday Fun edition. We're live in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid, that's Lakina. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80, that's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
Yvonne McKinney McGee on the Twitter, X, and Kids from again, the IG.
Make sure you can have any questions or comments for us, especially for our next guest as we talk about the Los Angeles Lakers in our tribute to Jerry West and talk about the NBA Finals. You can do so, especially with our next guest. You can hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comments section. Look in, we'll get them up on the screen for you. And just a daily reminder, you can catch Sports Zone Chicago live in living color, especially right now on Roku TV.
All right, folks, we're going to talk some Lakers and NBA Finals. He is the host of the Lakers Nation podcast and also the front office show for the NBA. He is the one, the only, the fabulous, making his Second City Sports debut, Mr. Trevor Lane. Trevor, how are you?
Yeah.
Hey, thanks so much for having me. Appreciate it.
All right, let's get right to it because we got a lot to discuss with you. We'll talk Lakers we'll talk Lakers first. Of course, Jerry West. Of course, we got the news right before Game 3 on Wednesday morning that he had passed away. Won championships as a player and as an executive for the Lakers, especially. What are your memories when it comes to Mr. West?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't see Jerry West as a player. I just missed him. But as far as his work as an executive, he's second to none. I mean, absolutely incredible things that he did. He helped build dynasties. Look at the Shaq and Kobe Lakers. That team doesn't exist without Jerry West. You look at all the work that he did, even during the Showtime years, working with Magic Johnson, working with the team in order to build out that roster. Absolutely incredible things that he did. And he meant he meant so much beyond just the Lakers organization, but to the NBA as well. The league, quite frankly, beyond just the logo, does not look the way that it is today without the contributions of Jerry West. So this is a tremendous loss. It's a huge loss for the team, for the Lakers themselves, but also for basketball as a whole. He has meant so much to the sport, and so it was certainly a sad day.
People forget that the Los Angeles Lakers actually started in Minneapolis. Of course, the first dynasty in the league was with the great George Mikan. But Jerry West also started in Minneapolis before they moved to Los Angeles in the late 1950s. Talk to us about his impact, not just with the Lakers on the court, but off the court as well. And what was his impact on the city of Los Angeles in general?
Well, I mean, there was a whole generation of fans who grew up, pre-Showtime, pre-obviously Shaq and Kobe, who really latched on to Jerry West as one of that team's stars. And so as a player, he brought in a lot of people to the Lakers fan base. Yes, the league today is really built upon the Lakers and Celtics rivalry from the 80s. That's what pushed the league into the spotlight and got it to where it is now. Prior to that, the NBA Finals was on tape delay. It wasn't even a live broadcast. So now you've got the NBA where it is at this point. But prior to all of that, Jerry West was one of the big draws for the Lakers. Now, there were other players as well. We talk about Will Chamberlain, Elgin Baylor, players of that caliber. But Jerry West was a big part of it, Mr. Clutch, as he was known. So he was a huge part of that initial groundswell of fandom for the Lakers and into the Los Angeles years. He brought in a lot of fans and brought forth that. It's in part because of Jerry West that there's a generational aspect now to Lakers fandom. You see Lakers fans who talk about, my dad was a Lakers fan, my grandfather was a Lakers fan. A lot of that came into play because of Jerry West and players like him during that era. And so that's why Lakers fandom has now become something that's been passed down generation to generation, and why it continues to persist in Los Angeles. Even when there's bumps in the road, Lakers fandom stays strong.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is that this is going to be his second or third time getting to the Basketball Hall of Fame. This time as a contributor, so that's nothing short of incredible. Now, the one thing he did say he did not like was how he was portrayed in of course, the now canceled series Winning Time. So I know he wasn't very fond of that. So what do you think? Do you think that kind of closely matched what went on, really, or do you think that Jeff Pearlman, who of course wrote the book and co-produced the now canceled series, was there like some exaggerations there?
No, yeah, I mean, I've talked to the creators of the series. I've talked to Jeff Pearlman, and they've explained that while there is some dramatization that they took some liberties with there. For example, did he really throw a trophy out the office window? No, his real office didn't even have a window. So there were things like that were done for either dramatic effect or, in the case of his character, comedic effect. And I really loved his character in the show. Did it kind of turn the volume up on his character? Yeah, but that's television, and that's where they made sure to note that, hey, this isn't a documentary. This isn't a historical. This is us turning this into a dramatization of what happened and adding some things. We see that a lot in TV, in movies, especially when you're getting stuff that's trying to reflect real life. Oftentimes what they'll try to do is take the personality of an actual person and then just turn the volume up on it a little bit. And so I think that's kind of what happened with Jerry West. He wasn't a fan of the way he was portrayed, but he lived it. He knows exactly how it all went down and exactly what things really looked like. So I understand his point and why he might be frustrated there. And I also understand from the point of view of the people who made the show, which was a fantastic show. I wish it was still on, but the people who made the show, they needed to make a compelling TV show to watch, and I thought they did a great job at that. So, it's unfortunate that some of the guys who were around at the time were, feel like that it wasn't accurately portraying them, but I think in general the spirit of it was what they were trying to capture more so than 100% historical accuracy.
Trevor Lane, co-host of the Lakers Nation podcast and LakersNation.com, is joining us here on Second City Sports on Sports on Chicago. Sid Lakina here with you, talking Lakers, saluting Jerry West and NBA Finals. Let's stay on the subject of Jerry West, Trevor. You mentioned that he was Mr. Clutch. Of course, he averaged over 35 points a game during his career in the playoffs. Of course, he has that one championship from 1972. They didn't beat the Celtics. They beat the New York Knicks that year. And at the time, they had the best record in the league with 69 wins. I know some people have him in the top 5, perhaps the top 3 of greatest shooting guards of all time, next to Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Dwayne Wade, if you want to throw his name up there as well. Where do you have Jerry West ranked as in your group as far as greatest shooting guards or scoring guards of all time?
He's certainly up there. Top 5, I think, is fair when we look at, are you putting him ahead of Dwayne Wade? Are you putting him ahead of Kobe? Are you putting him ahead of Jordan? Probably not. There's some really great shooting guards that have been out there, and Wade and West, I think, is a bit more of a debate, but it's always so tough. When you're trying to. We're really comparing apples to oranges when we're looking at different eras. I mean, one of the iconic moments from Jerry West's career is his 3/4 court heave that he hits at the buzzer to send the game into overtime. Well, the game went into overtime because there was no 3-point line yet. It would have been right. Otherwise the game would have been over. So we're comparing two very, very different eras when we talk about Jordan, we talk about Jerry West, Kobe, Dwayne Wade. So it can be tough to compare those things. In terms of overall impact on the NBA, he's absolutely up there. And the safest thing to say is just he's one of the greatest guards the NBA's ever seen.
And of course the logo too. Now let's talk about like the coaching carousel with the current Lakers, and of course Danny Hurry's name was thrown around. He actually flew in for an interview. He said no, they're offering about 70 million, or someone said well less than that, but whatever. Now I guess JJ Redick's name is being thrown around as well. So it's kind of like a ping pong match between Woj and Sharp. So what do you think happened? What do you think was the real story with the interest in Danny Hurley?
Yeah, I think both Woj and Shams are trying to get their version of what happened to be the accurate one, and I think the truth probably lies somewhere in the middle here. There was some debate over whether or not the Lakers had actually met with JJ Redick, and some saying that he hadn't met with them, others saying that he had, and that's we just get some wires crossed. And essentially what happened was JJ Redick, to my understanding, he met with the Lakers, he met with Rob Pelinka, but didn't meet with the entire front office, which is what he's doing this weekend. Dan Hurley, I don't buy that he was their number one target the entire time. I think there was something that happened with JJ Redick. From what I've heard, there were some players who weren't necessarily on board with JJ becoming the team's head coach. And that was part of, not the entire thing, but part of what caused the Lakers to pivot and turn towards Dan Hurley. How that connection was made, was it Dan Hurley reached out to the Lakers reached out to Dan Hurley, was Adrian Wojnarowski in intermedia there? We don't know exactly what that whole situation looked like. But for a period of time there, the Lakers really thought they had a good shot at getting him. I had heard from within they considered it a 50-50 in terms of whether or not they would land him. They offered him that 6-year, $70 million deal, which I've confirmed with them. And that's obviously that's a significant deal. Most have said it's a little bit short of what they hoped the Lakers would offer. Obviously, it was not enough to get Dan Hurley to jump over, and now they're back onto JJ Redick. So, you've got, in terms of the Woj and Shams of it all, you've got Woj saying it was Dan Hurley from day one. I don't buy that at all. Shams saying that it was always JJ Redick. He was their top guy. I don't really buy that either. I think there really was a shift. There was a week there where they wanted to get Dan Hurley. They wanted him to be the guy. They presented him with an offer. They really hoped it was going to be him, and it didn't get done. So now they've gone back to JJ Redick, and they're meeting with him this weekend. And given that the draft is in less than 2 weeks, I think if things go well in the JJ Redick interview taking place this weekend, I think they will move very quickly and try to get this locked up.
Assuming that if it isn't JJ Redick, Trevor, who else can the Lakers get? Because you mentioned the draft is less than 2 weeks away. Longtime assistant Phil Handy's name's been mentioned. Of course, Sam Cassell's name's been mentioned. But if talks break down between the Lakers and Redick, who's the best candidate out there to coach LeBron James? Assume that he's going to play in the next 2 or 3 years.
The next favorite would have to be James Borrego. They've already interviewed him. He's been in a couple of times to meet with them. So I think James Borrego would be the guy to get the call. But he is also in the thick of things with the Cavs for their head coaching vacancy. So we'll see how that all plays out. Does he become the Cavs' next head coach? But he would be the clear next choice, I believe, should things not go well with JJ Redick. And so that would be, I think, their next call would be to go to James Borrego. If he's already with the Cavs, and if something happens where they don't like the interview process with JJ Redick this weekend, then I think it really gets opened back up. And that's where maybe we're looking at a Sam Cassell or someone like that, a David Adelman or an assistant from somewhere else around the league, Mike Adoree, someone like that.
Piggyback off that LeBron question, do you even see LeBron going back to the Lakers?
Yeah, I mean, I've been saying from day one that I don't see him leaving. I know Philly has max cap space, so they could offer him that. I'm sure they will, but I don't see him leaving the Lakers. I think he's going to ultimately stay. I do believe he'll decline his player option, which he has to decide on by June 29th. I think he's going to decline his player option no matter what, and then he'll sign a new deal with the Lakers. There's the potential out there for him to leave, of course, but I think it's unlikely. But, Dan Hurley did mention yesterday when he was being asked about his interview process with the Lakers, he was asked about communication with LeBron and said that LeBron told him that he would support him being the coach if he's there. And that, raised some eyebrows if LeBron's in LA. That was coming from Dan Hurley. So maybe LeBron really is considering going elsewhere, but it's still looking at the landscape of the league. I would have to imagine that he's going to wind up ultimately staying in LA.
We're halfway home with our new friend of Second City Sports, Trevor Lane, co-host of the Lakers Nation podcast and LakersNation.com. He's hanging out here with us right here on Second City Sports, the Friday Fun edition on Sports Zone Chicago. Sid LaKina here with you as we talk Lakers and NBA Finals coming up. Trevor's staying with the Lakers, of course, assuming that LeBron James resigns with the Lakers, which I think we all know that he will. Realistically, what kind of moves that GM Rob Pelinka can do during this offseason after the NBA draft? I know names been thrown out there like Donovan Mitchell and Trae Young, and Dejounte Murray's name was thrown out there at the trade deadline. Realistically, what can the Lakers do to improve their roster between now and the start of next season?
They're going to be active on the trade market for sure. They have the 17th pick in this year's draft, which will be available. They've got a 2029 and 2031 first, and that's it in terms of future first round picks for them to move. However, the challenge for the Lakers is going to be, if you look at what's happening on the market right now, almost every team is doing exactly what the Lakers are doing, and that's going to make it difficult. And that is saying, hey, if we can get win now pieces, we'll move our first round pick. Almost every team that's in the first round right now is willing to move their pick. Even the Spurs, who weren't even a playoff team last year, we're hearing they would move their first round pick in a potential win now move. So that's going to be tough to try to navigate that market when so many teams are looking to add a piece to win right now and are willing to move their first in order to do it. When there's that many first round picks available on the market, that can make things really, really tricky. So I don't assume that they're going to find a trade for their first this year. Going after a Donovan Mitchell, a Trae Young, someone like that, I do question whether or not they're even going to attempt to build their roster out that way. We'd be talking about a 3-star build with LeBron, with Anthony Davis, and let's say it's Trae Young. I think if the opportunity is there in front of them and it's one where the price is what they want it to be, I think they would have a hard time saying no. But given how many teams out there are gearing up to make runs at superstars right now, I think it's going to be a very tough market to find a superstar on. And I also think that what we're seeing now from the NBA is a definitive and very obvious push to prevent super teams from forming. You can see what they've done in terms of the legislation they've passed and the new collective bargaining agreement, the salary cap tiers, how punitive they are. It makes it very hard to build a winning team and make that winning team stick for any long period of time. And it makes it extremely difficult to have 3 stars on max contracts on a roster and have any shot at any kind of depth. And as JJ Redick recently talked about on his podcast, and LeBron James echoed his sentiments, in today's NBA, you need depth. You need 7-8 players at least that can play both sides of the ball, that can play playoff caliber basketball if you're going to get anywhere. So I think the Lakers are going to pursue more of a depth build. If a Donovan Mitchell happens to fall into their laps, I'm sure they're not going to say no, but I would be surprised if they're the team that makes the move to go land a star this summer, even if that's kind of historically been in their DNA. I think you're going against the grain of what the NBA is trying to do right now if you build a 3-star model.
Going to be interesting to see what happens there. Let's talk about the NBA Finals, guys. Game 4 tonight. Celtics can get number 18. with all the weirdness here, with the Celtics were able to come back and actually win. Despite no Porzingis, and of course Jaylen Brown's had a great series. Drew Holiday made some big shots. So did of course Tatum as well. So where do you see this? Do you think the Celtics can end this tonight?
Yeah, I mean it's over. This is done. The series has ended, and that's it. It was pretty clear. I said going in that the math essentially was this: Luka needed to be the best player on the floor, and Kyrie could be at worst the third best player on the floor if the Mavs were going to have any chance. Because simply Tatum and Brown, if they can even out Luka and Kyrie, if they can negate those two, then the other Celtics, and we're looking at Drew Holiday, Kristaps Porzingis, Al Horford, all these guys, Derek White, of course, they're better than the other Mavs guys. Derek Lively, PJ Washington, Derek Jones Jr., those guys. And they're talented players, but they're not on the same level as the other Celtics guys. And so that's kind of what we've seen play out. The first two games, Kyrie was largely MIA in games 1 and game 2. That's it. The Mavs don't have a shot. Again, Luka has to be the best decisively. Kyrie has to be at worst the third best. They didn't have that. Game 3, Luka, awful performance. His teammates even came out today. His teammates called him out for his lack of effort on the defensive end of the floor. It was shocking, certainly disappointing from a Mavs perspective, what they saw out of Luka that night. And again, he was not the best player on the floor, so that's it. The Mavs' margin for error is just so small in this series. So that's it. And I've already moved ahead to the offseason. I know most fans have because they've seen this series as done. So my preference would be let's get it done and let's open the floodgates on what's going to be a fun summer, because all the stuff that we've been waiting on to build up to come out in terms of free agency, in terms of the draft, the trade market, all of that, the NBA doesn't like a lot of that stuff getting out during the finals. So I know once the finals officially actually are done, the floodgates are going to open and we're going to have a blast getting to talk about all this kind of stuff that's going to now come out. So yeah, I think it probably ends tonight, and I'm for it. Just rip the Band-Aid off, get this thing done, and let's move into what should be a really exciting offseason.
Trevor Lane with a mic drop prediction for tonight, so I'll definitely not watch this game live. But I want to get your take on the criticism of Luka Doncic. Of course, he's averaging 34 points a game for the regular season. He's been big in the playoffs, but the criticism on him that he complains too much to the referees. I'll just say this: Kobe did it, Michael did it, Magic did it to a lesser extent. All the superstars complain to the refs, and of course, others have criticized that Luka Doncic runs out of stamina, especially in the fourth quarter. What do you think that Luka needs to change between now and the start of next season?
Yeah, I mean, he just can't be a negative defensively, and maybe that means a shift in terms of who he's defending. Do you really want him trying to chase a guard or a wing? Do you want to try to put him on fours? We'll see. But he can't be a negative on the defensive side of the ball. You mentioned other stars have complained. I mean, LeBron complains all the time, and people get frustrated with him for complaining to officials. But when you're in the finals and you're in this situation and you're giving up open looks to a team that shoots more threes than anybody in the NBA, you can't do that. You can't stay behind the play to argue with the official because you're hanging your teammates out to dry. You've got to hustle back. And we saw so many times in game 3 where it was Luka's job to rotate, Luka's job to make the effort and contest, and he just didn't do it. So if that's a stamina issue, that's something that can be addressed during the offseason, certainly. But he's got to buy in on that end to at least a league average level. It's not expecting him to be a good defensive player. No. Just don't be a negative. Don't be a net negative defensive player. Just get to average defensively, and he's more than fine. He's an incredibly talented player, and I think that's the step, getting to being just an average defender. If he can get there, that's what will put him into, he's already in the running, but that's what's going to win him an MVP at some point. Otherwise, this is going to hold him back. What's happened to him in this series, specifically in game 3, that is going to stop him from getting ultimately where he wants to go. He's got to get better on that end of the floor. If it's a conditioning issue, that needs to be addressed. But it's something that has to be fixed. I think some of it is mental. When we talk about getting into the heads of the referees and all that sort of stuff, again, there are reports out today that his teammates called him out on it after last game. So we'll see. I'm hoping that tonight there is a much more engaged Luka on the defensive end of the floor. I think it's too little too late in this series, but it's something that he's going to have to fix about his game moving forward. He can get away with it just fine during the regular season, but the playoffs are a different animal, and he's got to be better.
Do you think? Okay, let's say if the Celtics do end up finishing up tonight or or on Sunday, who do you think the Finals MVP? Is it Tatum? Is it Brown? Some people say maybe Derek White might sneak in there. So who do you think is going to be the Finals MVP should the Celtics win? Within this weekend.
Right now, I lean towards Jaylen Brown. I think he's been great on both sides of the ball. He's made some really big defensive plays, specifically protecting the rim, doing things that a big man would typically do, dropping down and helping with the boards, helping protect the paint, and then giving them that burst on the offensive end as well. So, look, if Tatum has a big game, maybe it's him. But I think it's between those two. Right now, I would lean Jaylen Brown, but I'm not going to fault anybody if they go Tatum. Both have been excellent.
Last moment or two with our guest Trevor Lane from Lakers Nation podcast at LakersNation.com. He's hanging out here with us right here on Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. City Lakina here with you. Trevor, is it a foregone conclusion? We haven't brought his name up yet, but yours surely will now. LeBron James' son, a.k.a. Bronny James. Is it a foregone conclusion that he's going to play with his father next season, or will some strange twist in the wind happen that LeBron James Jr. is going to end up on another team? What are your thoughts?
I think he's most likely going to wind up with the Lakers. The question is, do they have to trade up in the second round to get him? I don't think they're going to use the 17th pick on him. That would be a little crazy, but they may need to trade up from 55. I think that's his floor right now is 55 to the Lakers. I'm sure they will take him there if he's available, but he did enough at the pre-draft combine to catch the attention of teams and perhaps develop a little bit of draft stock with some other clubs. So it wouldn't shock me if somebody else decided to go ahead and take him. I think he's a legitimate NBA prospect in his own right, but I still think the most likely outcome is he'll wind up with the Lakers. The question is just, do they have to make a move in order to land him, to either add a second round pick or move up in the second round, or will they just be sitting there with open arms and select him at 55?
Last question for me, Trevor. Well, we got Zach LaVine here. I know he's a LA kid, and do you see? I know you said that maybe you said other stars like Trae Young and Donovan Mitchell. Do you think Zach LaVine might be a case for him to come back home to Los Angeles?
Zach LaVine, the problem is his contract. Trying to, number one, he's getting paid 1A guy money, maybe 1B. Like, he's got to be your top player. He's incredibly talented, obviously coming off the injury, but incredibly talented player. I know a lot of teams would love to have him if he was making like 30 million. The problem is he's not. He's above 40 million. So that's going to be the challenge for Chicago. That's going to be a challenge for the Lakers and for any team. It's trying to get up to that salary number to trade for him, especially in the environment with the new CBA, with the salary cap tiers that are really restrictive. For example, a team like the Lakers, if they want to trade for Zach LaVine, they've got to send out, assuming that they do stick as a tier 1 team, they have to send out more salary than they're taking back. So that's a lot of salary that you have to stack up in order to send to Chicago to make a deal happen. And if D'Angelo Russell doesn't opt into his player option, just logistically, not even talking about player value or anything like that, just trying to stack up enough money to get there is a big, big task. And so that's going to be the challenge that Chicago is going to have with moving Zach LaVine. Again, incredibly talented player, but the question of how do you build an offer that's going to meet that salary level that doesn't necessarily strip a team of too many parts, that's going to be a challenge. Again, I think he'd be a really intriguing candidate for the Lakers to go after, but I think given the state of his contract, I think there's going to be other options that they're going to look at first.
Last question from me, Trevor. Thank you so much for taking the time, first of all. As I mentioned earlier, you guys have one of the best podcasts out there covering the NBA team. Tell us quickly, how did you guys get started, and what is your guys' vision moving forward for the future?
Yeah, I mean, Lakers Nation has been around for a long time, since I believe now 2010. I believe it predates me. I got involved in 2015. With the company and starting up the podcast and all of that. Initially came on as a writer, and then eventually got a podcast going and the channel and all that sort of stuff on YouTube. So as far as the vision moving forward, we just want to continue growth. We do have the Front Office show, which is a show that I co-host with Keith Smith. And so we've got some other things that we have growing as well. But for the Lakers side of things, we just really want to provide that connection with the fans and give fans an opportunity and a voice to share their opinions about the team and celebrate together when they win, commiserate when they lose, and all of that, and just be that connection, be that meeting place for Lakers fans. So as we continue to grow, we'd like to start doing some more stuff in person with fans, doing some watch parties, things of that nature. But yeah, it's just a matter of continuing to make it a fun experience, even if the team is not playing well, but even when they are, being able to celebrate together and kind of build that community. So that's what we're looking to do and continue to do for the future.
Yeah, Trevor's only 30 years old, folks. He told me he was like 12, so that's a problem with the house. So
I wish.
Trevor, thank you so much for joining us today. We're definitely going to have you on again. And where people can find your podcast.
Yeah, you can find us over at youtube.com/Lakers Nation, and then on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. Just search Lakers Nation and we'll pop right up.
All right. Thank you, Trevor, for joining us today. Great job with us. Much continued success for you and the rest of the crew over there. We'll definitely have you on again sometime next season as the Lakers trying to get another championship before LeBron James retires, and maybe he'll be playing with his son, which will probably end up happening anyway. But much continued success. Thank you for taking the time to join us today, and we'll talk again soon.
All right. Sounds great. Thank you for having me.
Thanks.
All right, thank you.
Trevor, stay safe. All right, that was co-host of the Lakers Nation podcast, Trevor Lane, joining us here on Second City Sports. Sports of Chicago said, let's stretch and tell off. We got our girl KXRB's Manika on deck. We'll talk big news concerning a former White Sox. Could maybe a reunion, perhaps? Rising NFL quarterback gets some big moolah. Sports media news. Tom Brady and a whole lot more. We talked about our girl, and of course, the U.S. Open going on right now in Pinehurst. So we got a lot to talk about with our girls. So coming up next, the Key McGee, City Valley, Second City Sports, Sports of Chicago. Our girl Manika, KXRB, coming up right after this.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I needed for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class.
These colored pencils, too. These new socks, they can be a real lifesaver.
And I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things, none of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, no thanks, not my thing.
Mom.
I promise you, your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. A public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and I listen to Sean and Maya in the morning.
Welcome back to Second City Sports on the hashtag Friday Fun Edition. We're live in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid. That's Lakina. This is our last break of the show for today and for the week. So, you have any last minute questions or comments for us, you can do so by hitting us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments to the comment section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you.
All right, Sid, we got our girl on deck. Yeah, let's not waste any time. We got a lot to talk about with her. So you can listen to her at KXRB in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. She is the one, the only, the fabulous Miss Christine, the Queen, Manika. Hey, Christine.
Yay!
Hi, guys. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday to you as well. How are you?
We're doing good. We're doing good this week.
Yeah, you staying cool out there in South Dakota?
Yeah, so far it hasn't been so hot, so we're pretty lucky.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, we're trying to keep cool here in Chicago. It's been brutal the last couple of days, but I'd rather have this than a horrible winter. So, and we didn't have that bad of a winter, so I'm not complaining too much. We'll start out with the cat in the bag. We'll pull it out right away. No pun intended. That's the U.S. Open golf tournament that's going on right now. You can watch it on NBC as we're broadcasting live. Tiger Woods, he shot a +4 yesterday. It didn't look great. Just watching it here as we do our show live, he was at a +6. Now he's at a +3. What do you think are his chances of making the cut and playing tomorrow and hopefully on Sunday? Do you think he's going to do it, or he still has some mountains to climb?
You know, from what I hear about Pinehurst, it's a very hard golf course. There's a reason why the U.S. Open is there. And the cut line, the projected cut line, I should say, I believe is 5 over. So if I think Tiger could stay within that 3 over to even, I think he's in pretty good position. I'm kind of looking at the positives here. On his first hole yesterday, he shot a birdie. So he still has got something in him still. And I'm sure the PGA would be very happy to see him continue on to the weekend.
And so would NBC, I would think. Now going to the guys that are at the top, of course, Patrick Cantley. Of course, he's the clubhouse reader right now. Ludwig Odberg, I hope I'm saying his name right, from Sweden.
Yes.
Thomas Detry from Belgium. Of course, Bryson DeChambeau, who some people are actually starting to like now. He shot a nice, I think 69. So he's at 4 shots back. Rory McIlroy, he's about to start his round. Actually, he had a 72. So not too bad, but Hideki Matsuyama, some people say he might be one of the favorites. Tony Finau's a guy that's been around for a minute. Xander Schauffele, reigning Masters champ, is starting his got his round. He's at 68. So who do you think is the favorites among that group? Or do you see somebody else perhaps maybe sneaking in there and perhaps winning it?
I definitely think Patrick Cantley, I think he's been playing a good game for a couple of years now, and he's kind of just waiting on that attack. Same thing with Thomas Detry too. You know, he went to the University of Illinois. So he's a U of I kid, and I love how he represents his school, his alma mater, by changing out the blue and the orange glove. I think that's really sweet. So I definitely like those two. And I like Bryson DeChambeau. You know, he's been playing probably some of the best golf of his career. And I like his energy. I like what he brings to the golf course. And I know that the PGA misses him. And hopefully whenever the live thing gets all worked out, they can see more of him once it's all said and done. But I also think Rory has something to play for too. Now that his divorce is not happening anymore, he's got something to play for.
Yeah, things that beyond our control we can let them motivate us, or we can push it to the side, and those things that we have to look out for. Christine will jump into the WNBA. Caitlin Clark. The criticism still continues. Of course, this week, USA Basketball did not select her to go on to play in the Olympics in Paris next month. You said on our show here last week that she needed a break, and myself and Lakina both agree with you. Of course, Everybody and their mama, as the kids would say, had an opinion. Oh, they should put her on the team to market the WNBA. Oh, she's one of the top 12 players. Even though she's not, she still should be on the team anyway. Oh, this, all that. It is driving me insane. I'll let you have the floor. What are your thoughts?
Like I said last week, she's still new to the WNBA. She's very young, and she's got time. Her moment will come. I think that's what a lot of the veteran players, Brianna Stewart, DeRossi, they all said her time will come. It doesn't have to be right away. I think you should just let her even just get exposed in the WNBA. Just let her be immersed in it for a little bit longer instead of just throwing her to one of the biggest stages in WNBA and just in sports in general. Critics are going to say what they want. It's sports. We have to remember that. I think it's because everyone is all of a sudden so focused on the WNBA. They're starting to realize things a little bit more because of Caitlin Clark, which in turn could be a good or a bad thing, depending on how you look at it. So there's going to be a lot more criticism just because it's something that no one has really ever paid attention to before. So I think of it as just, it's part of the job. This is her job. This is what she signed up and wanted to do her whole life. And you just got to take criticism. And the way that you respond to it is how you play on the court.
She's handled this very, with such grace and as best as she can for anybody. I know she's been, she kind of told the haters to stop, with the misogyny and the racism and stuff. So good on her for that. So, like you said, like we've been saying for the last a week, it seems like, look, her time will come. Let these next few weeks, once they're off, on the Olympic break. I mean, let's let that kind of. Let her, get a little bit of rest because she hasn't really had a lot of rest, because she went from the national championship. Now she's playing WNBA, so she'll have a little bit of rest. So, incidentally, speaking of the Fever, that game against the Sky will be on CBS this Sunday at 11 a.m. Lisa Byington, Julianne Vinali, and Tiffany Blackman will have the call there. So they're getting the Sky and the Fever are getting the big network treatment. So I'm sure they'll get some big ratings for CBS. As they're looking for something to fill up their time, if you will, before finishing their golf coverage going into the football season.
Before we move on, Christine, just one more question regarding Caitlin Clark. I heard the opinion from several pundits over the last 24, 48 hours. Speaking of Caitlin Clark in the Olympics, NBC needs Caitlin Clark for their ratings. I'm here to remind people you have Simone Biles, which probably would be her last Olympics in gymnastics. You have the men's basketball team with LeBron James, Steph Curry, and all those older veterans making their last run for the Olympics. And don't forget, you may have some unsung heroes as well, as far as the Americans are concerned, that's going to draw ratings as well. The USA women's basketball team is going to draw ratings within itself as well without Caitlin Clark. What do you think about the criticism that, NBC needs Caitlin Clark for ratings?
I think it's people just wanting to say something just to say something, in all honesty. Like when you talk about unsung heroes, there is a Sioux Falls resident on the Olympic team for beach volleyball. And that's one of my favorite things to watch during the Summer Olympics is beach volleyball. So I'm excited to see her. I'm excited to see Katie Ledecky get out on the swimming pool again. And track is always fun to watch too and check out. So there's a lot of things to get excited about when it comes to the Summer Olympics.
And there's a former NBA player, I forgot his name, that is on the the men's side on the beach volleyball team. I forgot. I'll look it up. But yeah. I mean, look, you got Sha'Carri Richardson, Noah Lyles, Cindy McLaughlin. I mean, on the track side. NBC will be fine. I've been saying it for the last last week. It seems like the NBC will be fine. People say, "Oh, it's $1 billion." NBC needs to. Guys, they've got plenty of athletes they can promote. They've been promoting like crazy the last couple of months. So they're gonna be wrapping it up here. So we get close to the limit. So guys, chill, please stop. And for those dopes that want to cheer against the United States women's basketball, just because Caitlin Clark's on there, stop it. You're showing yourselves right now. Continue on, folks.
We're hanging out with our girl, Miss Christine, the Queen Manika from KXRB in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, here on a Friday fun edition of Second City Sports right here on Sports Zone Chicago. Christine, let's move over to baseball. The Chicago White Sox avoided a sweep in Seattle last night. Garrett Crochet personal career high with 13 strikeouts against the Mariners. What are your thoughts about his performance last night?
I think he's great. I hope in a couple of weeks when I get back home, I hope that he's a starting pitcher because that's who I want to see pitch because he's got a fantastic arm. Shout out to the dog that had the hot dog in the middle of the Seattle game. That's caused a lot of fun memes on the internet, and I absolutely love seeing that. So I'm hoping that he would be the pitcher that I get to witness because he seems like he's a fantastic fit for the team.
One of the few bright spots from that Sox squad. Yeah. So we'll see if he's still around now. Oh, Chase Budinger, the former forward from Arizona. He's a guy we talked about, played in the NBA for I think about 5 or 6 years now. He's going to be going to live in the beach volleyball. So congrats to him. This news just came across the wires about 20 minutes ago, guys. Former Sox Jose Abreu has been DFA'd and released by the Astros. So some folks are saying that maybe the White Sox should bring him back. I say to do what? Just to, a one-day contract and retire? So what do you guys think? He's got $30 million. So you want to worry about whoever he ends up with, we'll want to worry about paying him that. So what do you guys think Mr. Abreu goes?
I feel bad for Jose Abreu because he's had a tough year. He wasn't performing at the level that the Astros expected him to perform at. They degraded him down to minor league AAA, and now they just released him. So I feel bad for him. He won a ring with them, so in that regard, that's good for his career. I don't think just because the White Sox, any sports team in Chicago, really, they have a problem with getting veterans that are not really once what they used to be. Mm-hmm. And I think this could be a case with Jose Abreu. Now, I'm not saying that he's not a good team player. He is. He's an excellent team player, and he will definitely boost that morale in the clubhouse, so to speak. But there's a reason why he decided, or the organization decided, not to have him stay around in Chicago. And I don't think now would be the best situation, all things considered, with Grifol and whatever else is going on in the clubhouse.
I don't think he wants to come back here and play anyway. But with him leaving, and I know there was other reports that the contract that he signed with the Astros, the White Sox weren't going to give him. And I think from a business aspect, the Sox were correct on that. Like you said, look at his production with the Astros the last 2 years. That it has been great. But remember, Jose Abreu, if you believe some of the stories, he was trying to be that leader in the clubhouse. And some of the stories have started to come out over the last few months that guys were in their separate packs last year, and some of the voices that need to be heard weren't heard. And so even though most of those players are not in that clubhouse anymore, like Lakina said, if Jose Abreu wants to sign a one-day contract and retire as a White Sox player, great. But like you said, Christine, with this transition going on right now on the south side, unless he really wants to come back and play, I don't see why he wants to come back and play first of all. But if he wants to sign a one-day contract and retire as a White Sox player, great. But him playing on this team right now, he doesn't deserve this. No.
We'll see what happens here. Now, going to some NFL. Mr. Trevor Lawrence got some fresh paper, as I'll try to look it up and see the exact numbers. But what do you guys think? Christine, I'll start with you. $275 million, I think it's 143 or something like that, guaranteed, a new 5-year extension. What do you think?
I think they overpaid him. And they signed him for longer than what they probably should have. In a perfect world, I would have, and I know agents don't do this nowadays in the NFL, but I would have tried to sign him for at least a 3-year deal because he's not bad. He's not great. He's just kind of somewhere in the middle. He's shown a lot of bright spots, especially during his second season with the Jaguars, that he has it in him. But it's the first and last season that is kind of, it's a little bit, I don't want to say daunting to him on his career, but it's almost like it's a hindrance of this contract because he hasn't really performed to the expectations of Jacksonville. So I'm going to stick to what I'm saying. He's being overpaid, and they signed him for way too long.
Mm-hmm.
I will agree with Christine as far as they did give him a little bit too much money, but fundamentally, I'm all for players, especially in the NFL, where the contracts is only 25 to 30% guaranteed. Fundamentally, the players deserve their money, but like you said, Christine, I think they signed him too soon because I know that he was injured last year. I'm talking about Trevor Lawrence along with wide receiver Christian Kirk. Those are the two major injuries, reasons why Jacksonville didn't make the playoffs last year after starting 9-3. But I would have waited till what happened till what happens after this season because people don't want to talk about it. But the AFC South is going to be competitive. I know Tennessee is going through a rebuild right now, but the Indianapolis Colts could be back, especially with now second-year quarterback Anthony Richardson. And you still have the Houston Texans who there. They made some major moves bringing in Stephon Diggs from Buffalo via trade. C.J. Stroud is going to his second year. So I want to see how Trevor Lawrence performed this year before I gave him that contract. That's just me.
Yeah, I think
it's interesting. Oh,
no, go ahead.
Sorry.
No,
I was going to say it's interesting that you brought up Anthony Richardson because he didn't really play that much last year. So I think we still have yet to see what's going to happen with the Colts. So we don't know what to expect from them, which is probably why they took the risk in signing Trevor when they did.
Well, remember too, Flacco's over there with the Colts now. So if he, if Richardson is able to play, so they can kind of bring him along. You saw what he did with the Browns last year. Now, as far as the Lawrence contract, I'm with you guys. Look, I'm all for guys getting their cash, but that's a lot of money, and it's kind of quick. I mean, that's up there with Joe Burrow, who definitely deserved it when he got his money last year for Cincy. I just think
Joe Money,
right? And
as Christine would call him.
Yes. And I just think in this case, I think they kind of jumped the gun a little bit. I think they could have waited, like you said, Christine, till after the season. If he performs, look. Give it to him. Give him all the money. But I think right now, it just seems like kind of jumped the gun a little bit. But we'll see. I mean, look, if he plays up to it, great. If he doesn't, Jacksonville might have a little bit of a problem in their hands.
All right, hanging out, going down to the home stretch now with our homegirl, Christine, the Queen Manika from KXRB, right here on Second City Sports, the Friday Funny edition on Sports Zone Chicago. Silly Keenan here with you. Now, Christine, let's go to the NBA. The finals could be over as soon as tonight or on Sunday should the Mavericks win tonight. The Boston Celtics have a 3-0 series lead. Is it over, or can the Dallas Mavericks extend the series for at least one more day?
I'm disappointed. I really thought it was going to be I'm sure a lot of people are. I thought it was going to be more competitive than what it ended up being. They just got smoked in the first game, somewhat smoked in the second game. And then the third game, they had them. The Dallas had them, but they let the lead slip away. So it's frustrating probably for the Mavs fans in Dallas, but I think this could be the end of the road, and we could be seeing Boston carrying that trophy tonight.
I would hope that maybe Luka and Kyrie especially would want to put in an effort tonight to perhaps maybe extend this to another game. But I think I like what Trevor said earlier. I think it's kind of like just postponing the inevitable. I know ABC does not want to. We'll talk about the Stanley Cup Final in a second, but I think the last time that both the Stanley Cup Final and the NBA Final ended in a sweep was in '95. That was when, of course, the Rockets swept the Magic and the Devils upset the Red Wings. So, if you're ABC, yeah, right. I mean, if you're ABC, you don't want that. So, I'm hoping the Mavs can extend it, but I'm not expecting it to happen, though.
Yeah, we'll see what happens as Game 4 of the Dallas-Boston series takes place tonight at 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time on ABC as the NBA Finals continues. That's Game 4. Christine, the Bears wrapped up their mandatory mini camp early this week. Now, if school is out for the summer, they will return, I believe, in 5 weeks because of training camp. Of course, them and Houston will play in the Hall of Fame game on August 1st. So, not Dallas, but Houston and the Bears will start their training camps a couple weeks ahead of schedule than anybody else. What is your early feeling about the Bears right now? Of course, good vibes is coming out of Hallis Hall. Caleb Williams, whether you like it or not, he's the face of the team. What is your early impressions about the Chicago Bears as mandatory minicamp is now over?
Just from a personal perspective, I don't think Caleb Williams is hating the spotlight. I think he's relishing in it. So I wouldn't say whether he likes it or not, being the face of it. I think he's marinating in that for sure. And as far as what to come for the team when it comes to the Hall of Fame game with the Texans, it's going to be a challenge because CJ Stroud is the quarterback for them. He's stinking good. He's really good. And, so far with the mini camp, I haven't heard anything bad. So in my opinion, no news is good news. And they're just working out the kinks and seeing what Caleb Williams can do and how he and Rome can connect, how he and Keenan Allen are going to work together, Cole Kmet. It's just trying to find that vibe and balance right now.
Yeah, I mean, they have 5 weeks to whatever kinks that they have. So I think for me, let's do this in a real game first before we make any proclamations. It's just one of those things where it's just let's wait and see first before we make any kind of conclusions. I mean, remember, Caleb is still a rookie. He's going to have his struggles. These defenses are going to be gunning for him. So I would say just hold on, be excited, but just keep it contained.
Before we move on, Christine, for those that have missed it, what are your initial thoughts about the Bears being on Hard Knocks, which it will start on Tuesday, August the 6th, as the HBO and NFL fans will follow the Bears during training camp?
Hope everybody's on their best behavior.
On that note, Tom Brady got his jersey retired for the Patriots on Wednesday, and of course his speech, very, very eloquently saying that, look, he is a Patriot through and through, and of course it was kind of like the roast, only without the bad jokes and without the it was a G-rated version. He had Jay-Z playing, which I think he only did as a favor to Brady. I think that crowd is not a Jay-Z type crowd. I'm just saying, but he'll have another shot again for another speech in a couple years when he gets to the Hall of Fame. He's going to be a first ballot. So, but Christine, are you Brady fatigued?
No, I'm never Brady fatigued. I like it. I think I thought his speech was really good, and it was very motivating, and especially with his family there, with his kids watching, I think it's a great message to send to them, and just to send out to young athletes that want to be a Tom Brady one day. I will say Kenny Chesney was also there, and Peyton Manning made another surprise appearance, and there were a couple of good jokes in there. I will say G-version jokes for sure, but it was a great night for New England, great night for Patriots fans and Tom Brady fans.
Yeah, of course, Tom Brady's going to, on the eve of getting ready for his first season as a #1 broadcaster with Kevin Burkhardt on Fox. And I'm sure if the Bears are good, Tom Brady's going to call a couple of Caleb Williams a game. So we'll see what happens there. I'm sure, Christine, that you're going to be searching out to watch every Tom Brady game coming up this fall. I assume, correct?
Yeah, probably.
Samesies.
All right, Lakina. Yeah, Lakina, I will ask you this first, and then Christine, I'll just read the headline here. The NFL reportedly rejected ESPN's $70 Sunday ticket proposal. Thoughts? As far as DirecTV in the Sunday ticket.
Isn't DirecTV kind of dying out?
No, they have a DirecTV streaming service, so it's kind of like similar to the DirecTV, only you don't have to worry about the dish. So actually, a lot of people are signing up for that. So yeah, it's far from dying. There are people who are. I know my brother actually has it. So so that's not happening now. As far as the $70, I wonder, do they want more? Do they want it to have to be more available to folks? I mean, I think ESPN, they only want to have it exclusive for their ESPN Plus subscribers. And perhaps maybe in addition to Hulu and such. That's probably why I think they turned it down initially. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with that. But I'm fascinated when I saw that earlier.
Yeah, she said an email showed that ESPN was willing to carry the Sunday ticket for $70 for an entire season. And as well as I do, the NFL is greedy, And
More.
I'm sure obviously they wanted more than 70, charge people $70 for a package for an entire year. $70 compared to $400 or $500 that you can buy on YouTube. I know pretty good simple math when I hear it. So $70 compared to $400, $500, you can take that to the bank however you will.
Wait a minute, just trying to see if there's any more breaking news here now. As far, like I said, real quick with the Stanley Cup Final. I mean, that's another thing I'm kind of disappointed in. Of course, the Panthers won last night. This could be a sweep tomorrow, and I'm hoping that's not the case. But Connor McDavid needs to step it up. I mean, he didn't score those. Well, he did assist on the first goal, but he did not score last night. So they really need to get it going for. And I'm talking about if they want to extend this series, because I'm sure Edmonton fans do not want the Panthers celebrating their home ice. I'm just saying.
Florida's been the better team, obviously, in this series. They stepped up their physicality. Sergei Bobrovsky has been the best goalie in this series by far. I think it will end up in a sweep. Now, will Connor McDavid have another chance to get back to the Stanley Cup Final? I think he will, but we all know nothing is guaranteed. We talked about Hall of Famer in football, Dan Marino. He went to the Super Bowl in his second year, losing to Joe Montana. Many people said, "Oh, he'll get back there to the Super Bowl," and it never happened. It doesn't diminish his greatness, but you got to take advantage of the chance when you get it. It's not guaranteed if you're going to go back or not.
Some sports media news here are of course, again, courtesy of Friends Awful announcing the Big East has signed rights with TNT and as well as NBC. Both networks will be joining Fox. Now, Fox will be the main television home, but they are going to be streaming various men's and women's games on Peacock. Also, of course, with TNT and Max. So, Sid, what do and I'll get you yourself your thoughts too, Christine. What do you think? I mean, a very savvy move here by the Big East.
Well, NBC is buffing up their basketball coverage. We all know that around this time after next season, they'll get the NBA on NBC back. So I think that's going to boost up their resume there and ratings, obviously. For TNT and Turner, Lakina, they're going to lose the NBA after next season. So the only thing that Turner's known for is March Madness. They only run that for a couple of weeks. This is more needed for them because it's going to keep them in the realm of television coverage as far as basketball. It'll be on the collegiate level, but it's going to keep them in the realm during those tough winter months. Christine?
Yeah, I agree with everything that you said. And I think the Big East needs to compete somehow after, every other sport has been moving on to a streaming network or a bigger network than what they got now. So they're just trying to capitalize on an opportunity with the NBA leaving after next season. So they're thinking business, in other words.
Absolutely. And speaking of business, someone who made a big business decision is Illinois transfer Coleman Hawkins. He has decided on his new school, and that is going to K-State in the Big 12. It is the most lucrative college hoops NIL deal at $2 million. Delivered by his rep Nate Conley of Court 16 and Aaron Turner of Veers basketball. So a nice pickup for Jerome Tang and the Wildcats, but cha-ching for Mr. Hawkins.
Yeah, congrats to him on that. I think all three of us were born in the wrong time because you can get paid for playing college sports, and none of this happened before the last few years, especially during COVID. So congratulations to Coleman Hawkins. He'll be playing for the Kansas State Wildcats. Lakina, as we said before, we had many guests on our show that cover basketball, college basketball in particular, especially with the transfer portal as well with the NIL. Your roster may stay the same today, but can all change tomorrow.
Any thoughts, Christine?
Yeah, he got his money. He is going to a new school. That transfer portal, it could be a dangerous thing for college sports down the road.
That could be, but yeah, you might be right about that. So we'll see what happens there. Also, to speak of college sports, the College World Series is commencing starting tonight in Omaha. You have four
Omaha!
Yeah, you got 4 SEC schools, you got 4 ACC schools. So led the way by Tennessee, both North Carolina schools, North Carolina, NC State, Virginia. So Kentucky. So a nice representation there of College World Series. You can catch coverage of that starting, I think, tonight on tomorrow, I should say. Tonight on the ESPN. Actually, there's one game going on right now. UVA and North Carolina are tied on ESPN. You can catch on ESPN, ESPN2, and ESPN Plus. Also, you got the swimming trials, U.S. Olympic trials coming up starting, I believe tomorrow night, I should say, in Indianapolis. So, get to know guys, people like Kayla Decky are going to be going for more medals, and Caleb Truss will come back from injury. So, lots of stuff going on this weekend and sporting-wise.
Before we get up out of here, I know we're running up against it. Happy anniversary to the 1992 Chicago Bulls and the 1998 Chicago Bulls. On this date in 1992, the Bulls beat the Portland Trail Blazers in that great comeback in Game 6 at Old Chicago Stadium to capture their second World Championship. That was the first one they won at home at the Old Chicago Stadium. And, of course, the 1998 Chicago Bulls on this date today, 26 years ago, Michael Jordan hit his last shot as a member of the Chicago Bulls to bring home the 6th and final World Championship to date for the Chicago Bulls. They beat the Utah Jazz 87-86. Michael Jordan ended his Bulls career by scoring 45 points.
And Jazz fans are still miffed about the push up or wasn't a push off on Byron Russell. I'm just saying.
Jordan just extended his hand out there. Byron Russell was always going in that direction. Jordan extended his hand out there. Said he didn't even touch. He said, "Byron Russell, go that way. Give me space to hit that shot," and he did. Get out the way. Get out the way.
And on that note, you find my Ken McGee on the Twitter, X and Kids Corgi and the IG.
You can follow your Shirley Cindy Brown on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80. Christine, where can lovely people follow you on social media?
They can follow me at @Manika_KXRB.
And you still have that beautiful bird.
I do.
You still got the likes. You still got the likes, though. You still got the likes, though, because I got rid of the likes this week. You still got the likes too?
Oh, they still have the likes. They just made them private, so other people can't see what you like.
A little bit of sneakiness going on there. Of course, you get Second City Sports every Monday and Friday from noon to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. Right here on Sports on Chicago. One more time, catch Second City Sports every Monday and Friday, noon to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, right here on Sports on Chicago's Facebook and YouTube channels.
Make sure you follow Sports on Chicago on all social media platforms. Download that Sports on Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast. We're located at War Media Podcast. That's WARR Media, PODCASTS. We are on all podcast platforms, including that iHeartRadio app. While you're at it, give War Media a follow on all social media platforms. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
We'd like to thank Trevor Lane from the Lakers Nation podcast. Follow him on social media. You can download the Lakers Nation podcast wherever you get your podcasts. You can catch the Lakers Nation podcast also right here on YouTube. Christine, make sure you tell your husband that. For those of you that know, Christine's husband is a big Lakers fan. So we'd like to thank Trevor Lane for joining us today. Of course, the lovely Christine, the Queen Manika, for giving us her presence every week.
Yay. Love them all. So, of course, you can catch the replays of this episode and all episodes of Second City Sports and other great programming right now, anytime, anywhere on Roku TV. On Roku, in between, the Cardinals Cubs game is coming up on Sunday. You can catch our show, Sean and Maya, the Smoke Fellas, and so much more. Though I'm sure we're gonna have some great content coming up, just in time for the football season. Go to your local Play Store, the Roku TV app, type in Sports of Chicago. It's all right there for you.
And we will provide. And happy Father's Day to all the fathers around the world, especially to our listening and viewing audience as you celebrate Father's Day with your loved ones this weekend.
Show you appreciate it for them today and on Sunday and every day. So, definitely some great dads out there, single dads, stepdads, father figures, what have you. So enjoy your weekend, folks, watching the U.S. Open and all the other great sports that are going on right now. So stay safe and stay cool and be good to each other. For Sid and Christine, I'm Manika with Second City Sports on Sports of Chicago, and we'll see you guys on Monday.
Get out the way. Holla!